There's a man standing in a field of flowers. He's been standing there for more than 900 years. He's not a ghost. He's not a god. He's something older than both. A goblin, a dokebi. And somewhere in Seoul, a young woman is about to light a birthday candle. When she blows it out, he will appear. And he will realize, after 9 centuries of waiting, and that this is the person who can finally end his life. There's just one problem. He no longer wants to die. I'm Bruce Han. Welcome back to English with Bruce, where we don't just learn language. We learn what languages carry. Today's drama, Goblin. Officially, Guardian, the Lonely and Great God은. TVN, 16 episodes, 2016 to 2017. Now on Netflix. Still rewatched, still discussed, still one of the most beloved dramas Korea has ever made. Today's question, what do you do with love that was never supposed to have happened? Kim Shin was a brilliant general, undefeated, loyal to the end. The king he served was young, jealous, and afraid of him. So the king had him killed, stabbed with a sword in front of his own soldiers. Then something happened that nobody planned. He did not die. A divine force, call it fate, call it punishment, call it irony, left the sword embedded in Kim Shin's chest, made him immortal, made him a goblin, and told him that the only way to finally rest, to finally die, is to find his destined bride. She must pull the sword from his chest with her bare hands. That is the only door out. 939 years later, he is still waiting. Ji-eun-tak is a young woman, orphan, working multiple jobs, perpetually cheerful in a way that breaks your heart. She can see ghosts. She has seen them since childhood. And one evening, almost by accident, she calls the goblin. He appears in a field, buckwheat flowers everywhere. He looks at her and understands, for the first time in nearly a millennium, that this might finally be over. Except nothing about it is simple. Nothing about it is comfortable. And that is exactly why this drama is great. Expression 1, to be destined for something. To be destined for something means to be meant for it, to have a future that was written before you arrived. Kim Shin was not destined for happiness. He was destined for a sword in his chest and centuries of grief. Ji-eun-tak was not destined for an easy life. She was destined to carry something most people cannot see. And somehow, the two of them were destined for each other. Say it with me. Some people seem destined for greatness. Others are destined to find it the hard way. She felt destined for this moment, even though she couldn't explain why. Destiny in this drama is not a gift. It is a weight. The goblin was destined for immortality, and it cost him everything. I need to stop the story here for a moment, because this drama has a second storyline that is, in many ways, the emotional center of the entire show. The goblin does not live alone. He shares a house with a Grim Reaper, an amnesiac Grim Reaper who doesn't know who he was before he became a collector of souls. They argue about the television remote. They argue about food. They've been living together long enough that the arguments feel like a marriage. And the chemistry between them is so electric, so genuinely funny, so unexpectedly tender that the audience started rooting for them as much as the romantic leads. But there is something darker underneath. The Grim Reaper's amnesia is not an accident. It is a consequence. He's paying for something he did in a past life. Something the drama reveals slowly, carefully, and with devastating precision. I will not spoil it. But I will tell you this, when the truth arrives, it refrains everything you have already seen. That is the mark of great writing. Expression 2, to carry a burden. To carry a burden means to hold a weight that is not visible, a responsibility, a guilt, a secret, a grief that you live with every day. The Grim Reaper carries the burden of a past he cannot remember. Kim Shin carries the burden of a past he cannot forget. Ji-eun-tak carries the burden of being the only person in a room who can see what others cannot. This drama is, at its core, about what we carry and whether love is strong enough to put it down. Say it with me. He never spoke about it, but you could see he was carrying a burden no one else knew about. She carried the burden of her family's expectations for her entire life. When you carry a burden long enough, you stop noticing it is there. That is the most dangerous kind. Goblin looks like a love story, a very beautiful one, shot in Quebec, Canada, Jeju Island, and Seoul in autumn light that almost seems unfair. But underneath the buckwheat fields and the slow motion eye contact is a drama about something harder. Immortality is not romanticized here. It's a punishment. Kim Shin has watched everyone he has ever loved die. Every person, every era, every time. He remembers all of them. Their faces, their voices, the exact moment they were gone. And into this wait steps a young woman who blows out birthday candles, laughs too easily, and has no idea what she is walking into. The drama asks a question that has no clear answer. If love is real, is it fair to offer it to someone when you know what it will eventually cost them? Kim Shin keeps trying to protect Ji In-tak from him, from what he knows, from what he is, from the simple arithmetic of loving something immortal when you are not. This is not a drama about a love that cannot be. It is a drama about a love that should not be and is anyway. Expression 3, to face the inevitable. To face the inevitable means to confront something that cannot be avoided, stopped, or changed. To look it straight in the eye anyway. At some point in every great drama, the characters must face the inevitable, the thing they have been running from. Goblin does not look away from it. Say it with me. She had always known this day would come. Now she had no choice but to face the inevitable. There comes a moment in every difficult situation when you simply have to face the inevitable and act. Facing the inevitable is not the same as giving up. Sometimes it is the bravest thing a person can do. Here is something the ratings cannot fully measure. The Goblin OST did not just accompany the drama. It became the drama. Stay With Me by Chanyeol and Punch, Beautiful by Crush, and perhaps most famously, I Miss You by Soyu. These songs were everywhere in Korea, from December 2016 to March 2017, in cafes, in stores, in restaurants, on the lips of people who had never watched a single episode. There is a reason for this. The music was composed to carry the weight that the dialogue could not. The things the Goblin cannot say out loud to Ji In-tak, the grief, the longing, the sheer exhaustion of 9 centuries without rest. When you cannot say it, you play it. And Korea played it everywhere. Expression 4, to be at a loss for words. To be at a loss for words means to be so moved, shocked, or overwhelmed that language fails you. You cannot find the right things to say. Kim Shin, who has had 939 years to practice speaking, is at a loss for words every single time Ji In-tak does something unexpected, which it turns out is constantly. Great love stories are often built on exactly this. 2 people who make each other speechless. Say it with me. The ending was so unexpected. I was completely at a loss for words. For once in her life, she was at a loss for words. She just stood there. Language is something we depend on. Losing it, even for a moment, tells you that something real just happened. Goblin aired in 2016, 10 years ago. It still ranks on every top 10 K-drama list ever published. People are still rewatching it, still posting about it, still going to Quebec, Canada because of it. Why? Because it took the Goblin, a Dokebi, a creature from Korean folklore that most people outside Korea had never heard of, and made it the emotional center of a global story. The Goblin is not a metaphor imported from the West. He is not a vampire, not an angel, not a superhero. He is Korean, specifically, stubbornly, beautifully Korean. And yet, 60 countries watched him fall in love with a young woman in a red scarf and understood every word of it. That is what great storytelling does. It takes the most particular thing, a 939-year-old Korean goblin standing in a buckwheat field, and makes it universal. Expression 5, to stand the test of time. To stand the test of time means to remain valuable, relevant, and loved long after it was first created, to prove that it was not just a trend. Goblin has stood the test of time. Not every hit drama does. Most of them are brilliant for 6 weeks, and then gone. The ones that stand the test of time are the ones that made you feel something you had not felt before. Something you wanted to feel again. Say it with me. A few songs from every generation truly stand the test of time. Great art does not just make an impact when it arrives. It stands the test of time. The question worth asking is not, was it popular? The question worth asking is, does it still hold? For Goblin, 10 years later, it still holds. Goblin is not a drama about whether love is possible. It's a drama about whether love is worth what it costs. A man who has lived more than 900 years decides that the answer is yes. And he makes that decision again and again, across lifetimes, with full knowledge of what it means. That is not a fantasy. That is the most human thing in the world. Today, you learned 5 expressions. To be destined for something. To carry a burden. To face the inevitable. To be at a loss for words. To stand the test of time. These are not textbook phrases. These are the words you reach for when something matters. When a story gets his hands on you and will not let you go. Go watch Goblin on Netflix and tell me in the comments, in English, what is something in your life that you believe was destined, or something you've been carrying that you haven't told anyone about. This is English with Bruce. Don't just learn the words, learn what the words are reaching for. See you next time.